Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I made these everything bagel seasoning and cheddar cheese English muffins. These are so delicious, so flavorful, and you guys will love them. So we're going to start with 200 grams of active sourdough starter. You want to make sure that it is at its peak, and then you're going to add 235 grams of milk. I like to warm up my milk a little bit just to speed up the fermentation process. And then I mix both of these ingredients together, and then I add 25 grams of honey. My honey looks a little weird. It's not like ooey gooey, but still okay. I don't know why this happened. This is the first time I've seen my honey do this, but I asked ChatGPT and it said it was okay. And then I added 8 grams of salt and I mixed everything together again. And then I add 375 grams of flour. And then I go ahead and mix everything together until there are no more pockets of flour left over on the bowl. I start off with my spatula, and then once it's like super shaggy, I like to knead it a little bit, do some slap and folds just to make it a little bit stronger and a little bit smoother. I like to shape it into a ball, and then I like to cover it with a plastic wrap. I wait about 30 minutes and then I start on my first set of stretch and folds. Here is where I added the everything bagel seasoning. I went ahead and sprinkled a little bit of the seasoning, and then I folded the dough over, and then I rotated the bowl 90 degrees and did the same thing. I did this about 4 times, and then after the 4th time I like to grab the dough and flip it over. That way I can sprinkle some on the bottom of the dough as well. And then I kind of like to fold the dough into itself and make it into a ball. I do somewhat of slap and folds just to make this dough a bit stronger. I like to do both stretch and folds and a little bit of the slap and folds sometimes, and I feel like it helps my dough get strong and nice and smooth. And then I shape it into a ball again, and then I leave it for another 30 minutes. And here is where I add the cheddar cheese. I sprinkle a little bit more of that bagel seasoning, and then I add some of the cheese, and then I fold the dough over, and I do this going all around the bowl until I have no more cheese. I used about 50 grams of this white cheddar cheese, and I feel like it was perfect, but you can add more or less if you'd like. I did not measure how much of the seasoning I ended up adding in total, but you can just go ahead and add as much as you want. You can even also put some on the outside of the dough after it's shaped, but I didn't do that. I just like the flavor to be throughout the English muffins, and it is not overpowering at all. It just gives it a delicious flavor. So here I just make it into a ball once again, and I let it sit on the counter so it can finish bulk fermenting. And after a few hours they are ready to be shaped. I go ahead and look at how beautiful it looks. I go ahead and weigh this dough out, and I weigh them into 10 equal parts. I want 10 English muffins, so if you want more, just make them smaller, and if you want less, just make them bigger. So once I'm done splitting the dough into 10 equal pieces, I just grab the dough and pinch it towards the center, and I make it into a ball. Look at the seasoning. You can see it throughout the dough and the little pieces of cheese. So as I was saying, I just pinch the dough towards the middle, just kind of making it into a ball, and then I do some push and pull motions here on my mat, trying to make a little ball. And I do the same thing for all of them. Here I'm just showing you guys once again. If you'd like some more seasoning on top of your dough, you can sprinkle some right on top right here before it does its second rise, but I didn't do that. And here I'm just putting a little bit of this cornmeal under the dough. That way once it's done its second rise, it's not hard to take them off of the mat. That way they don't stick and I don't deflate you know, all that beautiful progress we did. So I'm just gonna do this for all of the doughs, and then I sprinkle a little bit right on top as well, because I am going to be putting plastic wrap on top of the dough while it rests. I think I let this dough rest for about 2 hours on my counter, and then I had a pan warming up ready to be used. So the cornmeal will also help this dough not stick to the pan when you are cooking them. You can see here how fluffy and soft they are. They're literally like pillows. And I just couldn't get enough of this dough. I just kept touching it and touching it. And you can see all the seasoning throughout this dough. And this is how easy it is to take them off of the mat. That way they don't get deflated when you put them on your pan. And here they are cooking on the pan, and I'm just going to flip them after a few minutes. And look at how beautiful that one turned out. Perfect. Like, it's the perfect English muffin. And here are the other two. They're literally perfect, and they weren't sticking to my pan at all because of that cornmeal. So just sprinkle a little bit on both sides and it'll help a lot. One tip is, do not sprinkle the cornmeal on your pan directly, because then they will start burning and your English muffins will be very dark, because that burnt cornmeal will get stuck to them. And as you put new ones, you would have to take off the cornmeal that was on the pan already. So just a little tip for you guys. And then we are going to bake these for 10 minutes at 350 degrees. Look at that cheese right there melting. These are so delicious. The everything bagel seasoning gives them such a delicious flavor and taste. The cheese, just everything together is so good. We usually use these for sandwiches, for breakfast sandwiches, and oh my gosh, my kids love them. And look at how beautiful. Look at the little pieces of cheese, just a little crunchy on the edges. It's just so yummy. And I'm going to show you guys how to cut these open. You're going to use a fork, and then you're going to just kind of poke all throughout the little English muffin until you go all the way around, and then you can just easily just pull them apart. You can see how soft these are as I do this. I hope you guys try this recipe out. It just elevates your English muffins just a tad bit more, gives them way more flavor. You can see the seasoning bits all throughout the English muffin, and the cheese. You can see some of the melted cheese there too. I'm not sure if the camera is capturing all that cheese. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.